But the commission in the 1930s was very significant. It was named after the general counsel, Pecora, and lo and behold, he was the aggressor, and he went in and did all this investigation. It was a rather famous commission, and it was followed closely by the people because they were in the midst. It was in the early 30s. It was in the midst of the Depression. They wanted to know what was going on, and they came up with all the wrong answers. And they decided that it was that they had to separate investment banking, from commercial banking. They had to have an SEC, not enough regulation, and absolutely they had to get rid of any notion that you should have a gold standard. And that was essentially their conclusion. Capitalism and the gold standard caused the problems, and so nothing changed. And we didn't get out of the Depression either. It took another 10 years after that, or more. It took to the end of World War II to get out of the Depression. So it accomplished nothing other than what was negative by endorsing some very, very bad ideas that got us into trouble back then, but then this became the conventional wisdom. So we've gone on now for quite a few decades since that time, endorsing all the bad ideas. And yet now, today, though, there is so many people around the country who have heard about sound economic policies, and yet they haven't gone to Washington yet. So the contest is much different. The commission is going to do the same thing. We can't expect that commission to all of a sudden gain wisdom. They're going to do the same thing that they have been doing, and they're going to say, okay, I guess what we need to do now is separate investment banking from commercial banking like they did in the 30s, because they they removed it a few years ago, and they say that is the problem. After the Enron scandal, what did they do? They said, oh, we don't have enough regulations, so they passed Sarbanes-Oxley, chasing more businesses overseas. And now what are they doing? I mean, this banking bill that's about to come out is just loaded with unbelievable regulations to make sure this never happens again. They will never address the subject that the Federal Reserve is responsible. Let the Federal Reserve do all this. They think they can let the Federal Reserve mess up the whole thing, but if they have wise regulators, they can solve all the problems. But I would say that we have made some progress in that area. One thing that could be helpful, even without the total reforms that we need, is if we finally get the Audit the Fed bill passed, at least we'll know what they're doing. The information that came out last week on Geithner is rather startling. It shouldn't surprise any of us here, but it looks like they have pretty good evidence now that Geithner actually knew what was going on with AIG and Goldman Sachs. Can you believe it? And I made the point when I was asked about that is this is the perfect reason why the American people are now demanding more transparency. And it is the economic crisis. It's the ideas that the idea that the Fed has been working in secrecy. It's gotten the attention of the American people. This never happened in the 1930s. I mean, even it wouldn't have happened 5 years ago. So there has been a tremendous transition in understanding and directing the attention in the proper direction. And, of course, there's a lot of anger, and the anger is good. But the anger has to be directed in the right way, and the alternatives have to be proper. And this, to me, is just fantastic that the grassroots Americans are waking up. It's miscellaneous. It's all over the place. They're not all agreeing with what we agree with in this audience. But the direction of the anger is right. It's north. Washington, D.C. And since the Federal Reserve now is an issue, if we do our job right as our campaign for liberty expands and grows, and we actually have real influence, not only intellectually, but we actually transfer these ideas into real actions and getting the attention of the members of Congress. Now, somebody asked, well, how did, a lot of interviewers are asking me, how in the world did you have this much success? Did you have to do a lot of lobbying, a lot of talking to your members of Congress? And how did you manage to do that? Just take 30 years to do that for you? I said, no, I didn't have anything. I didn't do it that way because I don't lobby people. I don't go up and, I talk to people, and I feel good when they ask me a question because then I know they'll listen to the answer. But they have, done this for so long. They've been doing this for so long that they thought that maybe I had some secret technique. Like during the campaign, we had the secret technique of raising money, a secret weapon. So they thought it was a technique. I said, no, it has nothing to do with me negotiating and talking and converting minds in Washington, D.C. But what has happened is I have participated, as all of you have, in the changing of views by a greater number of Americans. So we were actually to take an esoteric issue such as transparency of the Federal Reserve, something nobody has been really interested in, and thought it was actually sacred, that you don't ask questions like that, and turn it into something where 80% of the American people, when polled, said, yes, we ought to know more about the Federal Reserve. Now we didn't get everybody to sign on the bill, but we got every Republican to sign on the bill and a bunch of Democrats. We ended up with 317 co-sponsors of the bill. The most significant way we got co-sponsors was because individuals like you would call, write, go to meetings, and they got the message. They got the message. Just as I think they're getting the message now, the American people are waking up that maybe it's not the greatest idea in the world for the government to take over our medical care. But when the people wake up, the politicians do listen. That's what they're in business for, is to stay in office. So the people, so some of our problems up there, a lot of our problems up there, is the fact that the American people have been lax in their duty in complaining about what is happening. But I would say the incumbent party up there now has been helpful. There's no doubt about it. There's some extremism there that we could point out. I think the one issue on the medical care that probably has helped is this idea that now they're talking a little bit about raising taxes. But originally, the president was going to provide additional insurance to 30,000 people who didn't want insurance and make them take it, but it wouldn't cost anything. And he would take some money from Medicare, but it wouldn't cost anything. There wouldn't be any increase in taxes, and actually the deficit was going to go down. Now that made things, that made people wake up and say, hey, I think he's pulling our leg a little bit on this. But, today I think George Will actually had an editorial today, and others have written about this. There's talk about this bill being unconstitutional. Can you imagine? But you have to wait a minute. Their argument is not quite our argument. Their argument is this. It's unconstitutional because they're forcing you to buy the insurance. And if you don't want it, you shouldn't be forced to buy insurance. Well, that sounds good. That sounds like it shouldn't be constitutional. But what about taking our money from us? That's what's unconstitutional. They don't have the right to just take our money to run the economy.